Testing. Testing. All right. All right. I think I had to change the sound. And I'm going to have to start all over again. I can't believe it. But good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We started off with no sound. I apologize for that. And thank goodness my wife came in and told me we had no sound. Again, my new cup. Thank you to Brenda for that. Inhale the good shit and exhale the bullshit. How cool is that? Today we're talking about relationships. Yes, relationships. And we'll talk about, how relationships, how to have a good, healthy relationship. Thank you. Thank you very much, brother. And first quote is, the quality of life is the quality of your relationships, by Tony Robbins. And how good is that? How right is that? All right. Then thank you, Deb. I'll see you on the replay. How right can that be? And it's true. If you think about that, if you've got good, healthy relationships, with your partner, with your spouse, with your boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever it is, and you've got good relationships with your friends, especially if you don't have a partner relationship in your life at this time, but you have good relationships with your friends, your life is good. But if you don't, if you have some poor relationships, especially the very close ones, your quality of life is not that good. I got one other one, and I like this one. I took this one because it means something profound, and people don't think about this too often. The purpose of a relationship is not to have another who might complete you, but to have another with whom you might share your completeness. That was Neil Donald Walsh. We often look for that person to complete us. But that means we're not complete. And if we're not complete and we have that person to complete us, it's almost a codependency. We need that person to survive. We want it, so we want that person. We really love that person. We want to share everything. We don't want a codependency. Okay. So let's talk a little bit more about relationships. What's a healthy relationship? A healthy relationship is a relationship that goes both ways. You often hear this thing, okay, relationship has to be 50-50. I've also heard, and I like it better this way, a relationship has to be 100-100. And going back to this thing about not completing, but actually sharing your completeness. 100% of you and 100% of the other one. Okay, that's a healthy relationship. A healthy relationship is where you look to give as well as receive. And mostly you look to give first as well as receive. That's a healthy relationship. You want it both ways. You pay attention to both ways, not to just what you're getting out of the relationship. Okay. Some of the key elements: communication, of course, communication. I've often heard in different studies, but just a lot of anecdotal things, the problems with relationships that break up is usually the communication. And what does that mean? It means they're not talking. They're sitting there not talking. No, sometimes relationships with communication. Sometimes relationships with communication can be a lot of talking, but nothing's really being said. Communication is not just talking. Communication is about a lot of other things. Well, first of all, communication, active listening. Okay, so when you're not talking, are you listening? And are you listening well? Active listening is usually a lot of interaction. One person says this, and you might reiterate the exact same words to make sure you heard it right, or you might rephrase it in your own way to make sure you've got the meaning right. That's the way I like to do it. Is I process it in my head and say, do you mean this? Make sure you got the meaning right. Because often sometimes it gets muddled. And if you just accept it and you really don't hear it, you really don't understand it, that's not communication. That's when communication breaks down. So active listening is very important. Respect. Respect in communication and respect, period. You know, good relationships, each one has a respect for the other. And when I say respect, okay, I respect them as a person, but respect in communication is whatever they're coming out, I respect where they're coming from. Or I respect the fact that I'm not sure where they're coming from and I have to look for it. I have to go in deep and look for where they're coming from. So that's where respect comes from. You got to respect, what's going on in the world at the moment. One of the things we often tend to do is take things personally. Sometimes someone's getting upset and they're not getting upset at you. They're getting upset, and even if they are getting upset at you, they might be getting upset because something else is going on right now in their head, in their life. And we take it personally. We say, "Oh my goodness, they don't like me. They're mad at me. I've done something wrong." You tend to take that personally, and we gotta start to respect from where they're coming from, and that helps us not take it personally. Okay, we got to treat others as we want to be treated. The golden rule, right? The golden rule. So if you're going to yell back at somebody, does that mean you want to be yelled at? Even if you just got yelled at, doesn't mean you want to be yelled at some more. No. And then the support, being there for each other in times of need. Okay. Sometimes we've had a tough day and we're really tired, and our best friend or our significant other, our partner or our spouse, they're having a hard time. Trying to be there as much as possible. Encouraging personal growth and development is great, because as we grow and as we grow together is even better. If that's in a relationship and you're growing together, that's even better. Had that problem several years ago as I was in my training, as I was learning all my skills and stuff like that. I'd come back after seeing a client and I'd be talking about the amazing things going on. And my wife just didn't understand. I had grown to a point and she didn't understand what was going on. We were being separated. And as I knew I was on my journey to go much further, much deeper into this, I knew that if I didn't do anything now, we would separate in our communications, in our interest and everything else. So I asked her, she was somewhat interested in this, and I actually had her go to training. She ended up getting even more training than I've had. And it's a wonderful thing. We were able to then connect and talk on the same level and see things on the same level. So you gotta take that into consideration as you're growing. Bring them along in the best way for them. Not everybody's going to be on your path, but if they understand and there's a path that they can go on to actually personally grow and develop, help them along. Okay. Emotional support fosters resilience. Emotional support fosters resilience. That's back into that respect, and that's into that support. Support your partner, support your friends. When you do that, it helps them be more resilient. It helps them bounce back much easier and learn from diverse perspectives. And sometimes, again, you and your partner, you and your friends, you might have diverse perspectives. It's better than to just push it away and say, that doesn't make sense. It's better to help me understand what's going on. Where are you coming from with this? Where are you coming from with this? And build interpersonal skills and empathy. Empathy is an important thing. Okay. That goes along with support, by the way. Also goes along a little bit with active listening. Is, If there's a problem, you want to empathize. You don't want to say, "Oh, just shake it off, get over it." Those are terms that people use a lot that I absolutely loathe. I really do. In truth, shaking it off is something people can do, but it's something that hardly anyone knows. And so when they're told that, it just minimizes their problem. There's no empathy there. Empathize. Try to understand the problem that's going on. And you'll find that things go a lot better. Things will go a lot better. All right. So main problems that get in the way of good relationships is miscommunications. We talked about that. Lack of boundaries. We didn't talk about that. Okay. Part of the respect is respecting each other's boundaries. Even if you're a married couple, you both have boundaries. You both have boundaries that keep you safe. In a married couple, you shouldn't have to worry about that, but also keep you sane, right? You want to have some of those boundaries. Okay, I have times when I need my quietness. I need my alone time, right? So you respect people's boundaries. Matter of fact, talk about your boundaries. Talk about what you see as your boundaries to your partner, to your friends. Unrealistic expectations, especially getting into a relationship. Sometimes you have unrealistic expectations. You don't talk about your expectations. That's back to communications again. When you're keeping your expectations to yourself and you're not letting the other person know, how fair is that? That's not fair at all. Keep realistic expectations. Okay? You want to have improved communications. We've been talking about that. Communication strategies like the active listening and just learning each other's cues, setting healthy boundaries. Just talked about that, and managing the expectations. Find out, not only share your expectations, find out what the expectations of your partner or your best friend or whoever it is. By the way, these things I'm talking about don't only apply to personal relationships, they can apply to business relationships. Maybe at a higher level, but they still apply. Okay. But to reflect on your relationships and what I've said here. Did what I say here apply to everything that you're doing? Have you thought of certain things? Have you thought of, hey, I should find out what their expectations are? Have you thought of that active listening? What about your communications when you are communicating? Are there times when you really didn't understand where they're coming from and you did nothing? You just pushed it away. Consider all those things. Relationships are important. They're a part of our life. We aren't built, we didn't come into this world to be an island. We aren't built that way. We all need to have relationships to survive. If we were by ourselves, for long periods of time, we'd have a hard time surviving. We need that interaction. We need that relationships. And one last thing I learned about relationships from Huna, from Hawaiian, the Hawaiian energy process, is that the ancient Hawaiians saw that every single time that we laid eyes on another person, we started this, what they call an aka cord. It was a connection. Aka means a thing of sticky stuff, right? It was just a cord, a thin cord, an energy cord, of course, that came from us all the way to them. But it stayed there, no matter how distant you grew, no matter what. We always had these connections for life until we were able to renew them. Okay, so we always had these connections. And what happens is along the way, the good stuff that goes on that connection, but also the bad stuff, right? The problems in the relationship, the any issues that goes on, any anger that goes on, any mistrust that goes on, that stays on that aka cord. It's always there. It's always there. And I see that as relationships, right? And you might say, okay, I forgive you for doing that. And then a week or two later, you bring it up as part of your argument. That's not forgiving. That's not letting go. That's let's stop talking about it for a moment. And when I need it, I'm going to bring it back. That's not a healthy relationship. That's not a healthy relationship. Healthy relationships have forgiveness in there. Healthy relationships have trust in there. And the trust got to go both ways, right? Right? You want to trust someone, you have to have them trust you as well. So, all in all, relationships are important in our lives. Whether it is our spouse, our partner, significant other, or whether it's our friends. Our friends' relationship are just as important. And sometimes, in some ways, they're more important to us, especially with dealing with the more important relationships. So, yes, relationships are very, very important. Okay, this has been Coffee with Kevin. If you want to know more about relationships, you want to know more about forgiveness, I talked about that. If you want to know more about communications, reach out to me. DM me. Extension cords. Thank you very much, Larry. I just saw that. DM me. Talk to me. Reach out. Ask me questions. Those of you listening on LinkedIn, you can reach me there. Those of you listening on Facebook, you can reach me there. And on YouTube, you can also comment, and I will get back to you. Take care, all. Have a great day. Have a great week. No. Let me back that up. Rewind. Because I know it's up to you. I know you can make it if you want to. A great day. You can make it if you want to. A great, fantastic week. Take care.